10 minutes?
10, yeah. Give or take.
Mm-hmm.
If we go over, they throw us out. So.
Oh, really?
I'm just kidding.
Wow.
What camera? No? That one there? Okay. All right, rolling. You can count and go.
All right, you guys ready?
Hmm?
Good? All right, in 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, San Antonio, Fiesta's around the corner, and that means it is playoff time in San Antonio. The Spurs are the number 2 seed. The Memphis Grizzlies are the 7th seed, but it doesn't feel like deja vu. Welcome to the Project Spurs Roundtable, powered by Project Spurs. I'm your host, Steven Anderson, along with Victoria Villarreal and Jimena Ramirez. All right, so we haven't been here in a while, guys. It's been, a while, since like December, right?
Yeah,
so let's do a quick recap of what we've missed. Kawhi Leonard had a concussion. LaMarcus Aldridge had a minor heart arrhythmia. The Spurs had a chance at the number 1 seed. They didn't get that chance because they lost to Portland. The Spurs beat Golden State, lost to the Clippers at home. And Pop, he's not happy. I think that about covers it, right?
Yeah.
So, Jimena, I'll go to you first. I said Pop isn't happy, especially after Saturday's loss to the Los Angeles Clippers. Talk about that game.
Yeah, we can tell it was a tough loss on his face. I think he was really devastated coming out, but he says that he plans on going strong and giving the Spurs players no breaks, that there's no resting for the boys of San Antonio, and I think that would be a good strategy. That's what we know the Spurs to be, that they don't take days off unless, they're sick or hurt.
All right, so we've got all that cleared up. Let's go and talk playoffs. They start a week from Sunday. A week from Sunday. Not thinking what day it was. Sunday. So they will face Memphis at the AT&T Center either Saturday or next Sunday, Easter Sunday. Victoria, I'll go to you first. The Spurs and Memphis. Last season, the Spurs swept Memphis, but they were basically just a bunch of injury-ridden team. This season doesn't feel as the same, does it?
No, definitely not. I think in order to perform well in this series, we're going to need to do a lot better on offense. And really, we need a lot bigger contributions from LaMarcus Aldridge, especially. He's not having his best season. He's averaging 17.3 points a game, which is 6 points less than he was averaging in his last season with the Trailblazers. So, it's kind of like those numbers, they might not seem like they're too big of a difference, but that those numbers came into effect when the Spurs were recruiting him a few summers ago.
All right, so obviously LaMarcus Aldridge needs to have a bigger impact in there. We've seen him ever since coming back from that minor heart arrhythmia that he's picked up his game a little bit. Yeah. But there's been times where he's been a little inconsistent, as has the Spurs' entire offense at times, where you see when they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers both in Cleveland and in San Antonio, and they played very good defensively and offensively in both of those games. But Victoria, let me ask you, when you talk about the offense, you talk about the inconsistency. Danny Green specifically.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about Danny Green.
I mean, Danny Green was shooting 43% from long range, and now he's shooting something like 38%, I think. And that's a huge drop for somebody that the Spurs once so readily depended on for those long-distance shots down the stretch of those tough games. Close games especially. I know 2-3 years ago, he was a huge player for us in the playoffs. I mean, you see like bouts of his three-point mid-range shots coming here and there, and then it's just like, against Golden State, all of the first quarter, it's Danny Green, Danny Green, Danny Green, and then after that, it was kind of like, where'd he go? Is he still playing?
Yeah, so I mean that's a little bit of an issue going into the playoffs with the Spurs, and at this point, but do remember it's not all negative. Do remember in 2014 the Spurs did not play their best going into the postseason. We saw them go to Game 7 with Dallas and blew Dallas out of the AT&T Center, and that's what kind of turned things around. So maybe things can work a little bit there. Another concern that I've seen from Spurs fans, I mean, you guys tweet me all the time, and I do appreciate that, and I do read them. So a lot of things I do see on Twitter are fans saying, Dwayne Dedmon, we love him, but against Memphis, he shouldn't be starting. You got Marc Gasol, you have Zach Randolph with Memphis, and those are two very dominant big guys in the paint. Dwayne Dedmon, do you think he'll be a liability in the playoffs, Victoria?
I know he started every game against the Grizzlies this year, but I don't think he's performed offensively at his best against the Grizzlies. I'm curious why Popovich hasn't tried David Lee at starting against the Grizzlies. Also, I think Pau Gasol performed really well against them in each game. So I think we have other options. I'm not sure, maybe he didn't want to show all of our guns yet.
Yeah.
But I don't think Dedmon is the top choice. For me, I wouldn't want to start Dedmon against the Grizzlies.
All right, so we're going to talk now about concerns going into the playoffs. Jimena, what is your biggest concern with the Spurs going into the playoffs?
I could definitely see Memphis being a tough opponent of the Spurs. You know, they are, like many people say, the wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
They, you think that they're not going to be a tough opponent, and then they come out with their, secretive strategy and just go for it and take everyone by surprise.
Victoria, your biggest concerns?
Offense. Offense. I really think that the Spurs need to perform offensively consistent in order to beat Memphis. Anybody in the playoffs, really. But I know that they've performed well against Memphis. They've had their struggles, but they've had their struggles with everybody this year. I think that we need good rebounding, boxing out, and it's going to go back to that consistency. Not only Kawhi Leonard can play well, we need LaMarcus Aldridge. We need some big man, somebody else, and a great backup point guard for Tony Parker.
You mentioned Tony Parker right now. So talk about Tony. I mean, he's had a significant drop-off, I think it's fair to say, this season, where he's had maybe one or two good games in spurts, and then he falls off. So is Tony a big concern for you going up specifically against Mike Conley?
I think so. I think that we really need – Patty Mills has had some great moments. I wouldn't say that I want to start Patty Mills just yet, but I think that it could be an option, maybe going away from starting Tony Parker against such a young and athletic point guard. I think we need that. We need that kind of spark. And Tony is a great point guard. He's always going to be a great point guard, but you see the years kind of catching up with him lately. I don't know if he's injured and maybe kind of working through that, but I would like to see somebody else maybe starting. Yeah.
All right, Jimena, you mentioned it will be tough playing Memphis in that first round. What specifically concerns you?
Well, there's some days that you watch the Spurs and they're playing great, and then there's just random days that they surprise you. And like yesterday was a big surprise. I did not see that coming. I don't know about y'all, but I think that key word is their inconsistency.
Yeah.
I mean, the Spurs are a defensive team, so they need to continue that. And then, of course, like you said, go forward with that offensive strategy.
All right, time to look into our crystal balls here and predict how the first round is going to go for the Spurs. Our predictions are usually, well, let's face it, they're probably going to be wrong. But I mean, let's see how it goes. Victoria, I'll start with you. Who wins the series and how long does it take?
I'm going to say Spurs in 5. I really think so. I think they're in the second
with all
place
that
for a
offensive
reason.
problems?
Well, they've won 2 out of 3 against them so far, and I really think they've got a good look. And once they get into the playoffs, they're going to gel a little bit more than we've seen them throughout the season. Maybe they're going to get a little bit more serious. I think it's Spurs in 5.
Jimena?
I'd say it's Spurs in 6, but not an easy 6. I feel like it's definitely going to be a hard one. And, as Coach said, they can't be taking no days off. I'm
going to actually say 6 or 7 for me, only because the offensive inconsistency is such a concern at this time. Danny Green's missed a bunch of games recently. We don't know how he's going to perform coming in. He hasn't performed well much this season, so it's going to be very interesting to see how they do. If Dwayne Dedmon starts for the Spurs in the playoffs, which I personally feel he's going to, that could be a liability going in, but we'll see how it goes. Spurs in 6 or 7, but so we'll see how that goes. Yeah. But Victoria, Jimena, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
And if you want to catch up all the Spurs playoff coverage, go to projectspurs.com, news4sanantonio.com, and fox29sanantonio.com. We'll have a lot of stuff coming up. Don't forget, we will have a season recap, all of our predictions as well as the rest of the Project Spurs staff. And thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time on the Project Spurs Roundtable.
Performance and moment to date